Hey guys, Misery here, back with another Cesium video. And in today's video, we're doing the ultimate Adelheid guide, because she just recently got released, and she's been a fun and amazing unit to play around with, and a lot of people are wondering how to play her. If you guys enjoy this guide, I have other guides on my channel, such as ones for Haida Marie, Diana, Rita, Typhara, cover most of the general units. For raid ups, the Haida Marie guide actually did really good. That's up to 60k views, which is absolutely insane, so thank you guys for the support on that. But just like all my other guides, I'm joined with a guest. His name is Gordon. Unfortunate news, this is going to be his last guide that he does with me. He is going to be quitting the game.
I mean, the reason why I'm quitting this game, there's a couple of reasons. One, I don't really enjoy this game that much anymore. Mostly my own fault. I like min-maxed the game to the point where like don't have anything else to learn. Two, I'm back in school. I don't really want to spend all my day farming when I should be studying for like my MCAT.
Yeah, so moving forward, all my future guides are just going to be me. But yeah, Gordon does have every unit in the game at E6 and basically every partner. There's only really so much you can do with like just bulldozing through all content. But a quick disclaimer right before we get into this video, just like all my other guides, we rank every epiphany at a certain tier. This is just our opinions. If you disagree, that's totally fine. We rank them with S being highly recommended, A being strong potential, B being awkward to use, kind of like niche, C being outclassed, and F being practically useless. But generally, this is where we think everything should go. So what does Adelheid do and what role does she play? Adelheid is a void vanguard. She is more of a support and vanguard hybrid. But me personally, I would put her more in the support role. She really isn't like that good of a vanguard compared to somebody like Khalipe or Magna. I think Khalipe and Magna have better shielding, whereas Adelheid is more focused on draw and being able to buff. So very weird they put her on the vanguard role. But Adelheid has this new effect called Blessing, which when shield in possession is lower than 30% of max health, if this card moves from hand to graveyard, 60% fixed shield. She's going to be applying this to a bunch of cards in the draw pile, and you're going to be using those cards from the draw pile which go to the graveyard, and that's going to be proccing fixed shield. Another new effect we also have called shield retention. So this is basically just like shield retain. You can carry over shield from turn to turn. This is applied when you use the Garden of Secrets card. It's only 25%, but it's better than nothing, because before, if you got like 1500 shield in a turn, you wouldn't be able to carry any of that over. But now with 25%, you can carry 375 of that over. But yeah, you just apply the blessing effect to allies cards, you're gonna get fixed shield. She also has these creation cards called Doggy and Teddy, which depending on the build you go, they can dish out damage or shield. Teddy also gives damage reduction, which is pretty nice survivability also. And then through cards such as Truth Behind a Story, you can also get damage buffs, because there's an epiphany on Truth Behind a Story that gets plus 100% damage amount taken by the target for one turn. That is additive, so that's basically 5 morale, on top of it giving 2 weaken also, so that's pretty nice value. But yeah, that's kind of just like a general rundown on what Adelheid does and her kit, her mechanics. Moving on to the basic cards, they aren't really anything special. You are going to be removing these. First one is called Gather Around. This is an attack card, 120% defense based damage, nothing insane. Second one, Fairies Protection, 132% shield. They do have blessing effect on them after the potential, but even then, not really worth to keep. So I just advise to remove all 3 of these basic cards and keeping the deck pretty thin, because you're probably going to be using Adelheid as a drawer and you want her to go draw neutral, if not draw positive in some cases. And then moving on to a first epiphany card called Once Upon a Time. So this card is pretty good and you're going to be using this in most decks. So starting off with this first one, apply blessing to 3 random cards in draw pile, then draw one of those cards. This does have exhaust too, so this only is a 2-time use, but you're going to want to be trying to apply blessing to as many cards as you possibly can, because that's how you're going to shield and survive with Adelheid. So this is going to give 3 blessings to 3 random cards, but you're also going to draw one of those. So this is draw neutral, and those 3 random cards are going to have blessing for the entire battle, despite if you use this twice and it goes away. And then moving on to the second Once Upon a Time, this is basically kind of just like a Cassius Joker or even a Haida Marie Joker, 0 cost initiation. It's really nice it has initiation, because you can just like start the battle and get whatever card you want with this. It's going to select from the draw pile, so if you're starting a hand and you want a specific card that you don't have, you just pick it out of the draw pile, and it will apply blessing to it also, so you get some shield after using that card. Very AP friendly too, since it is 0 cost.
So what's different about the third Once Upon a Time is that you can target which character you want to bless. Only issue is that it kind of doesn't matter what you bless. You just want blessing cards in your deck, so you can hit them with Protect Us. It doesn't matter if you specifically target the blessings.
Yeah, this one also has discard 1, so it's going to pair well with units that scale for discarding, such as Haida Marie, Renoa, Diana, but even then it doesn't need to be used with a discard unit. That's some extra synergy and value just for those discard units. And then moving on to the fourth Once Upon a Time, the X cost 1. This is pretty bad. Most X cost cards in this game are pretty bad because it requires you to use all your AP at once. Even if you are managing your AP cards and playing around it, like say you have like Source of Water matter 2 of them in your hand, and you have 4 AP. You use the 4 AP on the Once Upon a Time, and then you can use the 2 AP for your other cards. But it's like, it's a really weird playstyle that you got to play around, and you know, it's kind of clunky. Like, this does draw depending on how much AP you have and apply blessing to those cards, so it can draw a lot, but the problem is you're not really going to have much AP to use those cards you draw. So yeah, that's why we have it in F tier.
This upgrade is okay for characters who just make a couple cards per turn. It doesn't really help with characters who make a lot of cards per turn, like let's say Luke, who makes like 20 bullets a turn. This will only apply blessing like 5 times, and also applying blessing doesn't really matter to those cards because they just exhaust. This can be used characters like Serenial. Serenial has an upgrade that just creates a permanent homing laser into your deck. It's like you don't need to apply blessing to those cards. You would rather just use the first one to apply random, because you're gonna have to either split the Epiphany, or this is gonna be your only Once Upon a Time, so you're not gonna have any blessings in your deck for Protect Us to hit. It's kind of whatever.
And yeah, that's the Once Upon a Time card. Epiphany's ranked. What we think about it: first 2 are S tier, third one A tier, fourth one F tier, and fifth one B tier. Moving on to the next card we have, which is gonna be Protect Us, and this card is gonna be really good for her kit.
Okay, so this first one can draw 4 if you get a Treat as Common card, Divine, on it. So you're gonna need 4 of these on a draw 1 common card. You're gonna be spending 4 AP for this, or maybe you can you can only like dupe it twice. But at that point, like, why bother? You're spending so much AP to draw when many other characters can go positive for free. It's very conditional draw 4, so I really wouldn't consider it. It's still a good card, but I wouldn't pick it over the 4th one.
Yeah, this first one only draws blessing cards, so it's kind of like semi-fake draw. Like, it requires setup already, and you know, for those cards to have blessing on them already. So it's not just like a straight draw 4 out of the gate. And then moving on to the second and third one, we have these both at F tier. The second one, not really good, because next 2 times 0 cards are in hand, draw 1 blessing card. Usually when you have 0 cards, it's like the end of turn, unless you have like a bunch of excess AP. You probably aren't going to have AP to use for the card that you draw. And then moving on to the third one, draw 3, change cost of those cards 0 to 2 for 1 turn. This is really inconsistent and like not very reliable. I don't really like cards that are RNG dependent. Like, I like more consistency, and you know, you never know what you're going to get with this. Like, say you draw a 0 cost card and then it goes to 2, like your entire turn is bricked right there if that's a specific card that you need for that specific cycle. Like, yes, it is draw 3, but why would you ever go this when you can just get draw 3 on Veronica with a draw Divine, or even draw 1 cards of this unit Divine? It just doesn't make sense when Veronica does that with no drawback. Then moving on to this 4th Protect Us, the best one here. Draw 1 if that card is a blessing card, add 1 draw. Just like the first one, this can get a treat 1 common cards and draw 1 of those Divine, ultimately making it a draw 3 if you do draw a blessing with this. But this one is just good in general because it's 0 cost, don't have to use any AP, it's draw neutral, even positive and sometimes, and yeah, just good all around. Then moving on to this 5th Protect Us, draw 2 blessing cards of this unit, increase damage and shield gain amount of those cards by 60% for 1 turn. That is multiplicative, but the problem with this card and why it's kind of like niche, it's only Adelheid's cards. You can't use this for like your main DPS and get a free 60% multi. So this is really more for buffing comps that synergize and, you know, work around Teddy and Doggy. And even then, DPS Adelheid really isn't anything insane. Like, her doggies are fun to use and like play around with, but like, I would suggest just using a different DPS. I really think this 5th Protect Us, the value really lies in using it for Teddy, because Teddy can shield a decent amount and give damage reduction. But yeah, that's the Epiphany card Protect Us. All of the Epiphanies ranked. First one A tier, second and third F tier, 4th S tier, and 5th one B tier. Moving on to the next card we have, which is gonna be Friends from Fairy Tail. So this card is kind of weird. It's one of the remove targets you're probably gonna be removing in most decks, and like, there are some decent ones, but overall this card is kind of just like mediocre and lackluster. So first one, this is gonna be for probably like a DPS or sub DPS build. Create 1 doggy plus 20% damage amount to doggy for every 1 blessing card in possession, max 15 cards. So this can go up to plus 300% additive. That does sound like a lot, but the thing is, you're only creating 1 doggy with this first Epiphany, and Adelheid really isn't doing that much damage to begin with, so it's kind of just like whatever. Second one, create 1 Teddy. When damage is taken, move Teddy to hand 1 time per turn. This one's really good because this is the only one that allows you to play Teddy twice, because say you use Teddy and then you take damage, it's gonna move that Teddy back from the used card pile to your hand, so you can play Teddy twice if you really need that shield and, you know, damage reduction. This third one, create 4 doggy pack and draw pile. This is for DPS Adelheid, but you know, you're adding 4 cards into the draw pile, so you're gonna have to like circumvent 4 draw somehow, so you can cycle your entire 3 decks alongside with these 4 doggies. Even though they have linked in Quietus, it's just kind of clunky to play around, and you know, it can be difficult breaking your draw.
Okay, so this 4th Friends of Fairy Tales, it could be used in like pure shield counterattack comp, but like, it's kind of whatever. I don't really see a use case for this. Generally, you're gonna be removing Friends from Fairy Tales, so you're spending 1 card that doesn't recycle itself for 1 counterattack. It's a very, very odd card. card.
Yeah, it's only for 1 turn also.
Retains counterattack for 1 turn for some reason. When like Magna, when she gains counterattack, it's like for the entire fight. So I don't know. Adelheid's the only character that has like only gain counterattack for 1 turn.
And then moving on to this 5th, Friends from Fairy Tales, create 1 doggy morphed. This doggy morphed can actually alternate between Teddy morph. Depending on what card you use, whether it be an attack or skill card, it can go from doggy morphed to Teddy morphed or Teddy morphed to doggy morphed. So it's kind of just nice. You can get whatever you need depending on the situation. But yeah, Teddy is like a lot more valuable than doggy in my opinion. So that's why we have the epiphanies with Teddy ranked the highest. Because Adelheid doesn't really shield that much outside of Teddy. There's just her Garden of Secrets card and then her Blessing, which is 60% fixed shield, which really isn't much. Teddy is very valuable for Adelheid if you are going to be running this card. But yeah, that's her card of Friends from Fairy Tales, the epiphanies ranked. First one B tier, second one A tier, third one B tier also, fourth one F tier, and fifth one A tier. Moving on to the next card we have, which is going to be Truth Behind a Story. So yeah, this card generally, you're not really going to want most of these, but something like the first one is going to be really good. The one that gives plus 100% damage amount taken by the target for 1 turn, or this is on her base epiphany, so you can get a neutral. If you don't want to go this first one, you can't get a neutral with something maybe like vulnerable. This is practically just like 5 morale and 2 weaken for 1 AP, but you're going to want to get this on a cost reduction, so it's 0 cost. So, you know, pretty good value for 1 card.
The second one has like some use case with Renoa. There's a lot of characters who, when they discard their card, it activates and it gets used. This says move blessing cards from discard piles, so it doesn't move from the used pile. It has to be from discard. There's only 1 character that can do that, and that's Renoa. She has 2 cards that can synergize with this. One is the Instant Judgment, is when moved to discard pile, 250% extra attack damage to a random enemy, and then her Dirge Bullets itself. Notice how it doesn't say use this card, or it has like Quietus on it, right? So it doesn't actually get used, so it goes into the discard pile, which means this second one can actually draw back into them. The issue is that this combo is like very jank and niche, because 1, you gotta bless them first, and then 2, you're spending 1 AP to move only 2 of the cards that you just discarded back into hand. I don't see why you would ever take this over just like a generic 100% damage amount taken for 1 turn. Third one, it buffs her own damage by 100% for 1 turn. That's like okay. It's usable in her damage variant, but Adelheid doesn't really do that much damage in general, so you know, you don't really want this. Fourth one, same thing for her damage variant, doesn't do that much damage in general, don't really bother. Fifth one, obviously it can increase action count, so like maybe you have an engraving that buffs ally damage or something off of increased action count, but you can already do that with the 100% damage amount taken debuff. So I don't know why you would use this specifically to trigger the action count by 4 when you can just like increase action count through like gear or engravings itself. This is a very odd card.
And yeah, that's the Truth Behind a Story card. All of the epiphanies ranked. First one S tier, second, third, and fourth one B tier, and fifth one F tier. Then moving on to our next card, this is going to be the card that can't get an epiphany. So this is going to be called Garden of Secrets. 232% shield, 25% shield retention. Like I said earlier, that's the shield retain. Carries over shield from turn to turn. But yeah, not really much to say about this card. It just gives a decent amount of shield and then allows you to retain shield. This card can't get an epiphany. You know, every unit in the game has that 1 card that can't get an epiphany, and this is it. But yeah, nothing else I really need to go over for this card. Just try to use this upgrade as soon as possible so you can carry over that shield from turn to turn. And then next thing we have, which is going to be her ego skill called Happy Ending. So this gives 300% shield. Also, fixed heal equal to shield in possession cannot exceed 30% of max HP. So this is one of very few ways Adelheid heals. The only other way is going to be through her partner, but if you don't have her partner, this is the only way she's going to heal. This does give a decent amount of shield, and you know, some healing is also nice. Never can go wrong with more sustain. But the problem with this ego skill is that if you look at the top left, 6 blue bars, that's 6 ego points. 6 ego points just for this kind of like whatever shield and some healing. Not really worth it in my opinion. I definitely think this is like 5 at max, but you know, if you're struggling with sustain and you need to use this, then yeah, it's fine. But yeah, that's her ego skill, and you know, all of her cards ranked, everything you need to know about them. And then moving on to the partners, there really isn't much options. There is our designated partner Clara. You know, that's going to be her best in slot. She's definitely S tier, but if you can't go Clara, then for the 4 stars, definitely recommend Wilhelmina. I don't really recommend using Rachel for any units that scale off a defense, because Rachel does not give defense like Wilhelmina. That's the main problem with Rachel and why she's kind of so bad, because why would you take a measly buff that increases the shield gain for your skill cards? I don't really see it. So like Clara's going to be S tier, Wilhelmina probably like around A tier. If you don't have Clara, then Wilhelmina is going to be the best option for you. And then for whatever reason, if you're like super early game and Rachel is your only Vanguard partner, you can go Rachel instead of Wilhelmina, but definitely do not highly recommend Rachel. And then moving on to her potentials, starting off with this first major node, add Blessing to gather round and Fairy's protection cards. Those are her basic cards, but we're going to be removing those, so you know, not really anything too insane. insane. The potentials leading up to the other major nodes, health and defense. You're gonna want to max both of these out, or at least get them 3 out of 5 or 4 out of 5, because you know she scales off of defense, and then health is just for survivability. What's actually different between Adelheid and other vanguards, other 5-star vanguards just get the health node with crit chance, but Adelheid got health and defense. So, and then this other basic card potential plus 5% shield gain amount to Adelheid's fairy protection. If Adelheid's defense is greater than 250, add an additional plus 5% to the modifier. This is more for like Sortie, where you're actually going to be using and keeping her basic cards. For save data content, like I said earlier, you're going to be removing all 3 basics. So yeah, just upgrade this if you're using her in Sortie. And then onto her unique node, if Adelheid's defense is greater than 300 plus 5% void attribute damage amount, for every 10 defense exceeding 300, add an additional plus 2% to the modifier, plus 10% max. That goes up to plus 50% void attribute damage amount, and it caps out at 350 defense. You really only need 350 defense, which shouldn't be too hard to get if you're endgame. I have 400 defense on my Adelheid with like 1060 health, so I'm far over the cap. Just try to get 350 if you possibly can.
You can also just skip this entirely. It's not here for damage.
Yeah, I was literally just about to say, like, you're not really going to be using Adelheid for damage, so like, you really don't even need this.
Okay, so I think this is gonna be what you're gonna be running for like most characters. Like most characters, their full combo is around or near 2 or 3 AP, so she doesn't really need to have any AP generation in her kit. And this is the most consistent way of drawing for her. I think for most people, this is what you're gonna want. However, if you do want to like focus in on a specific character, I do have 2 other decks. This is for characters who literally do not need any AP for their combo. Whether or not like they generate their own AP, you can get like cost reduction divines on all of their cards. This one has the 1 cost once upon a time, and it doesn't have cost reduction on truth behind the story, and it just adds another protect us. I really wouldn't like recommend building a specific deck for her for like every character. It's pretty expensive making decks with Sortie. This is an option if you do want to hyper focus on a specific character. Speaking about hyper focusing on a specific character, there's a 3rd deck for characters who do need more than like 3 AP for their full combo. So this one, instead of having the treat 1 as a common card and draw 1 common card, it has gain 1 AP on it. I don't really like this variant because this is more likely to brick because it doesn't draw into another protect us. Having Adelheid as the only drawer in the team comp, skipping out on a treat as common card, you are more likely to not full cycle. Honestly, I really wouldn't consider running Adelheid with anyone who needs a lot of AP regardless, but it is an option. There is like a DPS variant for Adelheid, but just looking through the numbers, I don't think it's worth pursuing like at all. So I'm just gonna let you guys think about it.
Yeah, my previous video was actually DPS Adelheid, and if you saw that video, she's doing like 13k crit with like all of the Orlea and multiplicative buffs with vulnerable. So she is definitely not another 9 situation. She is not doing that much damage.
For all these decks, you can honestly get rid of Guard in the Secrets. You don't really need to retain shield. I only kept it because maybe you do want to retain shield, but for me personally, I would remove it. It's keepable though. All it does is make your turn 1 less consistent.
Yeah, the shield retention would get like more value if you're running her in more of like a multiple Vanguard comp with like Khalipe or Magno, where you're going to be shielding more. And then moving on to the weapon gear slot, honestly, there is not really much weapons you want to run for Adelheid. First off, we're going to talk about Tentacles of Chaos. You know, this is generally the best weapon for any support. It gets plus 8% ally attack, you know, more attack for your DPS. Never can go wrong with that. If you cannot get Tentacles of Chaos, you can go something like the Torch or Flashbang. Torch is going to give Mark and Flashbang is going to weaken. So, you know, depending on what you need, one's going to give more damage and one's going to give more survivability. And then moving on to the armor gear slot, for the first one, you're going to want to get the Cthulhu chest piece if you possibly can. That gives plus 12% defense, and as we know, Adelheid scales off of defense. Healing and shielding both scale off of defense. Shielding only 30% of defense though. If you cannot get the Cthulhu chest piece, you can go something like the Starlit Cloak. That's going to decrease the damage you take, so you know, more survivability. Both of those are mythic though, so if you can't get mythic chest pieces, you can go something from the shop, just like the boots. The reason we say the boots and not reinforced combat suit is because you're always going to have shield with Adelheid, so reinforced combat suit is just going to be like kind of useless. You really don't want these mythic chest pieces either way because you want tentacles. Tentacles is just going to be like so much more valuable than the chest pieces, but you know, this isn't a perfect world and sometimes we have to settle for less, so settling for the mythic chest pieces isn't the worst thing. Then moving on to the accessory gear slot, the first best one here is going to be Verdant Shackles from the Swamp of Judgment world. This is going to give plus 12% attack and defense. It's going to be really good because, as we know, Adelheid scales off of defense, want as much defense as we possibly can get, and even if you are running her DPS variant or, you know, a sub DPS variant, you're also going to get attack or some more damage there also. If you cannot get the mythic one, you can go the Verdant Day one, the one that gives plus 12% defense and 8% attack on odd turns. That's going to be more defense there too, and that one is just a legendary, it's not a mythic. There really isn't much accessories, but if you can't get either of those verdants, you can't go the Sphere from Cthulhu. That isn't the worst idea, but ideally you want to be using your mythic slot for your Tentacles of Chaos and the weapon slot. And then the fourth and last accessory we have for Adelheid, there is going to be absolute zero tetrahedron from the shop if you cannot get any of the others, which is going to give at the start of the battle a 20% shield multiplier.
There's going to be 2 4-set options you can run on her. You can run Glory because the card that applies blessing to cards, that's a exhaust card, so using them 3 times fully procs Glory. You can also run Starlight, the one that increases counterattack or extra attack damage whenever you shield. That's good if, you know, you're running her with extra attackers. And then for her 2-set, just run defense 2-set. You don't really have to care about substats because she's a support. Doesn't matter what it rolls into. Like, obviously you want it to roll into defense or health, right? But you don't have to min-max it. And then for her main stats, health, defense. So Adelheid's dupes are pretty high value, mostly because she's a support, so she can be used on any team. Her E1, it makes her setup turns a little easier. It just reduces the cost of Garden Seekers by 1. So, you know, maybe, you know, you're running her with a damage dealer that wants all the AP, but not like that much AP. It's not important though, because it's an upgrade card. You're only going to be using it once. E2 is where the value of the character over Veronica really starts to happen, where you can get up to 30% multiplicative, depending on how many blessing cards are in your hand at start of turn and how many cards you've blessed this fight. This is like the only reason why you would use her over Veronica. So if you have her partner or her E2 to like buff characters, it makes her an upgrade over Veronica. If you don't have E2 or partner, don't even bother. Her E3 buffs her ego skill that doesn't really do anything. I mean, it's good for sortie. You do want shield and healing in sortie, but for save data where you really do want to care about dupes, it's whatever. E4 is actually really good for consistency reason. Start of battle, apply blessing. This automatically blesses 5 cards in your hand, and then if your blessing whiffs on an upgrade, it blesses another card, so you don't run into situations where you're using your bless and it hits upgrades only, and then by the time you play all your cards, you have no blessings in your deck or protect us to hit. This basically makes her setup turn guaranteed. And then the E6 is really crazy as well. It makes the 30% multiplicative from E2 to 40%, makes the requirement from 10 stacks to 5 only. This makes it so that her passive to buff instantly happens on turn 1 instead of needing like maybe 2 turns or more to fully stack up her buff. Another consistency engine at the end of the turn. If Blessing of Dream is 5, draw 1 blessing card. It's just a free draw 1 at start of turn every single turn. Makes her even more consistent than she already is. So overall, her dupes are really good. This is definitely a character you want to dupe out if you're a spender. I really wouldn't consider using your Omega codes on it because she's not a limited character. However, her dupes are the reason why you want to use her over characters like Cassius or Veronica, right? She is only character in the game right now that buffs multi with no condition, right? Characters like Tefera or Leia is only to like the next hit or the next card, or, you know, maybe their buffs are only for like 1 turn as well. This is the only character in the game that just gives you multi for the entire fight with the dupes and the partner. She's basically a premium version of Veronica and a multiplicative version of Cassius if you have her maxed out. I don't think we need to go over team comps because like use her with anyone. I mean, she's a drawer, right?
But yeah, that's gonna be the end of this video. I hope it was informative. I hope you guys enjoyed this guide just like the rest of my others. Unfortunately, it's gonna be Gordon's last goodbye to you guys. This guy's, he's leaving us, bro. He's leaving us.
I don't know. I just think that this game had potential, but it feels like it's still in early access. You know what I mean? Like everything that they're coming out with right now are barely tested, and they haven't even started developing the multiplayer aspect of the game, right? There's just nothing to do in this game. Maybe you'll find me in an MMO, probably what I'm gonna be playing when a new one comes out. It's like my main genre.
But yeah, if you guys have any questions, you guys can join my Discord. I have some helpers in there. You know, there's a lot of people in my community also that aren't helpers or staff. We have a help section in the Discord. So yeah, you guys can use that if needed. Let me know down below in the comments what you guys' thoughts on Adelheid is so far. You know, how you guys are feeling about her. You know, I think she's kind of like in the middle of the pack at E0. I think she's like definitely solid and usable, but I don't think she's like the unit that you look at and be like, I need this unit. But for like a newer account, if you're just getting into CZN, she'll definitely be solid for you. And yeah, that's going to be the end of this video. I hope you guys take care, peace, and be safe. Till the next one.